Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here to bring in the first NFL regular season showdown slate of the year. We have the Tampa Bay Bucs. We have the Dallas Cowboys. Cannot wait to break this one all down for you guys. We have $1 million up top and a ton of big money on this first showdown slate. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome. My name is DK. I make daily videos and live stream for NBA and NFL slates on Draftkings. Also making videos for NBA Top Shot. If you're unable to watch these videos, I also upload on Apple Podcasts. Link down below is called the DKDFS show. If you enjoy, if you could take a minute or two out of your day with a 5-star rating and review, that would really help me out a ton. Every single rating and review boosts me up in those podcast rankings. If you are interested in signing up for premium content, now is a great time with the start of the month. I offer an NFL package. We're going to be going over all the showdown slates, all the main slates. Esports package includes Call of Duty and CSGO. NBA package, which again, NBA preseason is right around the corner. And then a gold package is a combination of everything. So going over some big NFL wins in the preseason this year. We had, again, really good preseason. A lot of members making some big money. So here's one, $5 into $4,000. Let's see. Mark taking out the show and slate, $120 into $5,000. My boy Cody with a big win, $1,000 in that show on slate. $100 into $2,000 plus. Let's see. $55 and $800 plus. Like, it was a great NFL preseason for us. So again, with the Patreon membership, going to be going over all the showdown slates as well as the main slates. And I do want to thank PrizePicks for sponsoring this episode. So if this is your first time watching my videos or you're not familiar with PrizePicks, well, there are a couple different ways you can play. So number one is the first way is taking over under on straight up fantasy points. So right now we have, I think, 14 players posted for Thursday's game. So like, if you are confident with Dak Prescott over under 20.5 fantasy points, you can go there, right? Or you can go to single stat if you feel better about taking over under on rushing yards, passing yards, receiving yards. You can go receptions, passing completions, interceptions. Ton of different ways you can play. You can mix and match sports too. They have every single sport you can think of. So if you guys want to try it out, you can sign up, use the code DKDFS. DKDFS, all one word, link down below. You'll get a 100% match up to $100. So you deposit using my code, deposit $100, you get a free $100 to play with. And finally, I want to thank you guys again for all of your support in the NFL preseason. Again, it was a great preseason for us. NBA Summer League, can't wait for the preseason there. If you guys do enjoy all this content, if you could, leave a like button on this video. Let's try to aim for 100 likes on this one. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, guys. We're closing in the 10,000 subscriber mark. And hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos and you don't want to go live. I will be doing a YouTube live stream for this on Thursday, so make sure to check it out. General Q&A, answer any questions you guys have. All right, so that's enough talking for me. Let's get into this showdown slate. Really quick, let's take a look at the Vegas odds and then go team by team, talk about the players I have some interest in. So, yeah, Cowboys, Bucs, 52 over under. The Buccaneers are currently 8-point favorites for this one. So we'll start off with the Dallas Cowboys. And first, what I want to do here is let's take a look at some snap counts for some of the receivers, some of the running backs, just so we get a decent idea of what we're looking for this game on Thursday. So going over to Dallas, I think we can expect Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper to play 80 to 90% of the snaps on the outside, and CeeDee Lamb probably playing somewhere in that 60 to 70% range in the slot. And then you have Noah Brown, Cedric Wilson, right now are still number 4, number 5 in the depth chart. Expect a little bit of work for them, maybe 10 to 20% of this snaps. And at running back, I do want to go over this really quick. So earlier in the year, it was Zeke getting a little bit more work. It was about a 70-30 split with him and Tony Pollard. But if you go a few weeks later into the season, it was almost to the point where it was 60-40. Now, Zeke is still going to be the number one back here for Dallas, but I do think Tony Pollard is going to cut into his work a little bit. And we'll get to Tony Pollard. I think he's a viable value play on the slate. But those are two pieces of news I wanted to go over really quick, just kind of give you guys a good idea of what we can expect for the skill position players as far as snap counts. All right, so let's start off with the quarterback position and talk about Dak Prescott. So he's at 10.4K right now in the flex. Obviously, he had that gruesome injury last year, but it's good that he is back and looks like he's said he's close to 100%. Now, with Dak Prescott, he's the guy that can run the ball, but he's not really known for being a rushing quarterback. He can go out and get you 20 to 30 yards on the ground and a touchdown, but he's not really like Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray where you can expect, 70, 80, 90, 100 yards on the ground, right? Dak's not going to run the ball a ton. He just does have the ability to run one in. Now, it's probably it's definitely a tougher matchup from the Dallas side going up against this Tampa Bay defense. Dak Prescott, I think, is, quarterbacks in the Showdown slate are always safer options. I would say if you're shooting for that massive upside, it's probably, a running back or wide receiver. But yeah, I think Dak Prescott, very, very safe in the Showdown slate. A little bit of a tougher matchup on this side of the ball, but no issue with him at that price. No, Zeke Elliott at 9.6K. So I brought up that I'm like, yeah, I think Tony Pollard does cut in his workload a little bit. Maybe it's like a 60-40 split. I do think Zeke will still get more opportunities. He's obviously very involved in the passing game, right? He's a guy that go out and get you 4, 5, 6 catches through the air. So Zeke at this price, I think, is definitely fine. But we'll talk about Tony Pollard, who I think is a pretty decent value play. I think is a little bit underpriced. All right, going over the wide receiver. So we have Amari Cooper at 8.4, CeeDee Lamb at 8.2, and Michael Gallup at 6.2K. So let's start with Michael Gallup. He's probably the guy that has the lowest floor. Now, he does have that big play upside, right? We saw a couple big games from Michael Gallup. He's a speedster. We saw 28.8. We saw 33 from him in week 16. So he does possess that upside. It's just the floor is a lot lower with a guy like Gallup as opposed to CeeDee Lamb in the slot or Amari Cooper. So Gallup at 6.2, I think, has similar upside, just a way lower floor. So he's definitely the riskiest of the 3 Cowboys wide receivers. Now, CeeDee Lamb at 8.2K, he's a guy that's probably going to go out and get you close to double-digit targets, like 6 to 10 targets, I think is a fair guess for CeeDee Lamb. He'll be playing out of the slot. He has obviously a higher floor than Michael Gallup. Similar ceiling, just a little bit safer. Now, you are going to have to pay a little bit more of a premium for Lamb as opposed to Gallup. And then you have Amari Cooper at 8.4K, who we know has that upside. Again, probably a little bit of a higher floor than Michael Gallup. So all 3 Dallas Cowboys receivers definitely in play. Michael Gallup being the riskiest, has similar upside, just a lot lower floor. CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, the safer options, but you are going to have to pay a premium for them as opposed to a guy like Michael Gallup. All right, now going over tight ends. So let's take a look at the depth chart here for Dallas. They have, scrolling down to tight ends, they have Dalton Schultz actually as the number 1 tight end with Blake Jarwin being the number 2. I think it's going to be a pretty even split. Obviously, Blake Jarwin got injured early last year, and then Dalton Schultz was the number 1 guy all last year. We have Jarwin at 5.2. We have Dalton Schultz at 4.6K. I will say I think Jarwin has a little bit more upside, but both tight ends for Dallas are kind of just fine options. We'll get to a couple value plays on the Tampa Bay side. It'll look pretty decent. But yeah, Jarwin and Schultz are kind of just there. I don't love the prices. His last piece in, I think they're fine. Now, Tony Pollard is a guy I mentioned, right? 4.2K. I think there's a chance he could get 35, maybe 40% of the snaps this year. He's very talented, and same with Zeke. He's definitely involved in the passing game. So I think Tony Pollard actually is a pretty solid value play. I do think he takes a little bit of a step forward this year. So like Tony Pollard at that price point. All right, so let's move on to kicker here. Greg Zuerlein at 3.6. Kickers are always safe plays in the Showdown slate, especially in a game that's projected to be higher scoring one, right? It's a 52 over-under. So, on average, we're probably going to get close to double-digit points for Greg Zuerlein, right? If you can get a couple field goals and some extra points, he's going to be right around that 10 fancy point mark. And at 3.6K, I think that's perfectly fine. So, yeah, don't avoid the kickers in these Showdown slates. They're definitely safe options. They don't have insane upside unless they kick like 4 or 5 field goals. But definitely interested in Greg Zuerlein. Safer value play for sure. As far as the defenses go, so the Cowboys defense at 3K. If I'm going to play a defense, probably would rather go to the Tampa Bay side. But with this being projected to be a pretty high-scoring game, 50+, the defenses are going to be hard for me to prioritize. Now, they can obviously still get there, right? They get a pick 6, fumble recovery. But it's going to be harder for the defenses to get there, especially with the game projected to be a little bit higher scoring. And then going over some value here for Dallas. So let's go to the depth chart again. For wide receiver, so Cedric Wilson is at 1.8K. Let's go up to Cedric Wilson, or 1.2K in the flex. So he is their number 4 wide receiver. Snap counts for him, I think we get somewhere in that 15 to 20% range, which definitely makes him viable. Obviously, it's a risk. He's not going to be out there for a ton unless one of those receivers ahead of him go down. But I think he's doable in large field tournaments, right? He's obviously a guy that can catch a long run. Receivers do have that upside. So a little bit of interest there in Cedric Wilson as a GPP flyer. And then Noah Brown was placed on the COVID list on Tuesday. So we'll see if he's going to be available for this game. That'll be something to monitor. Right now, he is the number 5 wide receiver. If you go take a look at the depth chart, he's number 5. So if he can't go, then maybe Semi Fielko gets a few snaps. But really, I think that's it for value on Dallas. I don't really think there's anyone else I want to look to on this showdown slate. So let's move on to Tampa Bay. All right, on the Tampa Bay side, so Tom Brady is a little bit more expensive than Dak Prescott, 11.2K. Now, he is definitely a statue quarterback where he has 0 rushing upside. But this is the easier matchup for Brady and the Bucs. You know, the Cowboys, they were one of the worst defenses last year. They're probably going to take a little bit of a step forward, but they're still not going to be a top defense in this league. So Tom Brady, safe option. Again, you're going to pay a little bit more of a premium for him than Dak Prescott. As far as, who do I prefer for quarterbacks? I would say Prescott might have a little bit more upside if you can run one in, and he's also a little bit cheaper. But yeah, Tom Brady definitely still safe. We know Tampa Bay likes airing it out. All right, let's go over these wide receivers really quick. Let's take a look at some snap counts from last year. This is just a game week 15. Just get a good idea of what we can expect here. So Godwin, 88%. Mike Evans, 81%. You can expect 80 to 90% of snaps for those two guys. And Antonio Brown playing in the slot probably gets about 50%, maybe a little bit more. And then you have guys like Scotty Miller, Tyler Johnson, that probably get somewhere in that 15% range. Scotty Miller's a little bit banged up, but I expect him to go. We'll talk about him in a bit. And then Tyler Johnson right now is listed at number 5 on the depth chart. So going back to price points, we have Mike Evans at 9.2, Chris Godwin at 8.6, and Antonio Brown at 5.6K. So with Evans versus Godwin, for me, it's basically a toss-up. Since Godwin is a little bit cheaper, I think he's a little bit more optimal than Mike Evans, but both guys firmly in play. You can definitely play them both together. Again, both these guys have similar upside, and yeah, I think both are good options on this one. Now, Leonard Fournette being 7K doesn't make a ton of sense for me, right? He was very involved last year. He was their passing down back, but we have to go over, we'll talk about him in a sec, but Giovanni Bernard is going to be their third down back. Now, he was a little bit banged up with an ankle, but they expect him to go. So if Giovanni Bernard plays, then Leonard Fournette is just overpriced, right? Because this is going to be a 3-headed monster, and then Fournette's going to lose that the passing down role. So assuming Giovanni Bernard plays, I just don't have a ton of interest in Leonard Fournette. I think he's very overpriced. Now, if Gio can't go and Fournette's going to be their third down back, then he's viable. But as it stands right now, I think Leonard Fournette is definitely overpriced. Now, Antonio Brown at 5.6, I think is a pretty solid play in the mid-tier. He's safe. He's going to get probably about half the game, maybe a little bit more. He's getting up there in age, obviously, but he still has some upside. So you hit a couple big games with the 11-catch, 15-target game. Yeah, I like Antonio Brown. I think he's a safe play in this mid-range and definitely playable in both formats. All right, it's going down a little bit more. So we have Rob Gronkowski at 5.4K. He is their number 1 in the depth chart as far as tight end goes, but let's throw down to O.J. Howard here. So O.J. Howard was banged up last year, only played a few games. But when he was out there, he was involved. Week 1, 4 catches on 6 targets, 3 catches on 4 targets, 3 catches on 6 targets. And we take a look at these snap counts, and this was week 1. O.J. Howard played about half the game. Gronk, about 3/4 of the game, and Cameron Brate played a couple snaps. So O.J. Howard being 2.2 as opposed to Gronk at 5.4, I think I like the discount on O.J. Howard. And he's a talented receiving tight end. So I think O.J. Howard's a pretty solid value play. Do you prefer him point per dollar to Gronk? Now, it's not saying Gronk is out of play. I just think Howard looks a little bit better point per dollar. Now, Ronald Jones at 5K. So, again, keep an eye on the Giovanni Bernard news. But he was more used as their running back, right? He was involved a ton in the passing game, obviously, later on in the season. That was Leonard Fournette's role. Now, if Tampa Bay gets off to an early lead, you could see Ronald Jones go for 15, maybe 20 carries. And it's going to be interesting to see how this backfield goes with Fournette now not really being the third down back, Giovanni being the third down back. Is it just going to be 50-50 with Jones and Fournette? It's going to be interesting to see. So Jones at 5K, Fournette is at 7K. If I'm going to roll the dice in one of those early down backs for Tampa Bay, I think I would rather go Ronald Jones for the discount. But yeah, neither really stand out at their respective prices, with Giovanni Bernard being used mainly as a third down back. And obviously that's great for Gio, we'll get to, because it's full point PPR. Bucs defense at 4.8K. I think if I was going to take a shot in one of the defenses, would rather go the Bucs as opposed to the Cowboys. The Buccaneers are just a lot better defense. You are going to have to pay a little bit more for them at 4.8K. And with this over-under being 50 plus, going to be hard for me to prioritize them. Again, not saying they're completely out of play. And if I was going to roll the dice in defense, probably would be the Bucs. Now, as I mentioned with Greg Zuerlein, Ryan Suckup is a safe option, right? With a game projected to be 50 plus in the over-under, I think you can expect close to double-digit fantasy points, and at 4K, that's safe, right? So, like I said, both kickers are safe options on the Showdown slate for value. We have Cameron Braid at 2.6. So right now he is their third-string tight end. Obviously, he was more involved with O.J. Howard going down last year later on in the season, but for me, O.J. Howard's listed ahead of him in the depth chart, and I think he plays a lot more, and he's also cheaper. So I think O.J. Howard is a pretty solid value play in the Showdown slate. And we have Giovanni Bernard, too. Keep an eye on this one. I think it's pretty big. He practiced, and he's dealing with a little bit of an ankle injury. They said it's a mild high ankle sprain. We'll see. If he does play, I think he's a pretty good value play because he's going to be the guy out there on third downs. And with Draftkings being full-point PPR, that's really good for a guy like Gio, especially at 2K. So this is big news. If Gio plays, I like him a lot for value. If Gio misses, then that makes Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette a lot more in play. All right, and then going over those number 4, number 5 receivers. So yeah, Scotty Miller's a little bit banged up. I do expect him to play. He's the number 4 guy, 1.6K. You have Tyler Johnson at 1K, who is the number 5 wide receiver. Again, snap counts, I think a fair guess is somewhere in that 10 to 20% range, which makes them both viable, but high-risk plays for sure. And that is really it, I think, for Tampa Bay. Like Tanner Hudson, the preseason GOAT, they released, unfortunately. Not much else here that I'm looking to. So going over, captain spot, it depends what you're playing, right? If you're playing the millionaire maker of making a ton of lineups and trying to get first, then about 75% of the times in the regular season, it was either a running back or wide receiver in the captain. So those two positions probably have the most upside. Again, for safety, quarterback's pretty safe. Value options, we talked about those kickers. And yeah, really the big piece of news that we're waiting on is just the availability of Giovanni Bernard. If he plays, I think he's a good value. If not, it's gonna make Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette a lot more in play. Right now, they're kind of just passes for me at 5K and 7K, and would rather go to Jones over Fournette. But if Gio can't go, then those two running backs for Tampa Bay do get a pretty big boost. All right, guys, that is going to do it for the video today. So if you haven't enjoyed the content so far, we'd really appreciate it if you leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you don't upload videos and you know live. Again, I will be doing a YouTube live stream on Thursday, answer any questions you guys have. And if you're interested in signing for Patreon, again, I'll be uploading private roster construction videos telling you guys exactly where I'm going to go, what type of build I like for this slate. So again, all that linked down below. Thanks again, guys. Have a great day. Super excited NFL is back, and I'll see you all on Thursday in the live stream.